The MLE 1914 Hotchkiss machine gun chambered for the 8mm Lebel cartridge became the standard machine gun of the French Army during World War I. It was manufactured by the French arms company Hotchkiss ACI, which had been established in the 1860s by American industrialist Benjamin B. Hotchkiss. The gas-actuated Hotchkiss system was first formulated in 1895 by Odkolek von Ujezda and improved into its final form by Hotchkiss armament engineers Laurence, Benét and Henri Mercié. The MLE 1914 was the last version of a series of nearly identical Hotchkiss designs. The MLE 1897, MLE 1900 and the MLE 1908. The Hotchkiss MLE 1914 became the French infantry standard in late 1917, replacing the unreliable Street Etienne MLE 1907. The American Expeditionary Forces in France also purchased 7,000 MLE 1914 Hotchkiss machine guns in 8mm Lebel, and used them extensively at the front in 1917 and 1918. Hotchkiss heavy machine guns, some being of earlier types, were also used in combat by Japan, Chile, Mexico, Spain, Belgium, Brazil and Poland. The Hotchkiss machine gun, a sturdy and reliable weapon, remained in active service with the French Army until the early 1940s. By the end of 1918, 47,000 Hotchkiss machine guns had already been delivered to the French Army alone, if one includes all the international sales. The grand total of all Hotchkiss machine guns sold by the manufacturer in various calibers as well in excess of 100,000 units. History and design. The Hotchkiss was based on a design by Captain Baron Adolf Odkolek von Ujezda of Vienna. The patents had been purchased in 1893 by the firm of Benjamin Hotchkiss, based in Saint-Denis, near Paris. Benjamin Hotchkiss was no longer alive at the time of the purchase, but the Odkolek design was further developed and greatly improved under the direction of American-born Laurence Benét with the assistance of Henri Albert Mercié. After trials that began in 1895, development issues were resolved leading to the initial purchase of the Hotchkiss gun by the French military in 1897. In 1898 an export model was also offered for international sales by Hotchkiss, with some useful changes, such as the addition of 5 cooling radiator rings on the barrel. The same basic design led to the M1900, and later to the M1914. In the meantime, adoption of the Saint Etienne MLE 1907 to equip the infantry went through in 1908. Nevertheless, Hotchkiss machine guns were also purchased by the French military for use in overseas colonies and by mountain troops in the Alps. By the 1916, during World War I, French line infantry, still equipped with the unsatisfactory Saint Etienne, convinced General Pétain that it needed the more reliable Hotchkiss. It got its wish and French infantry divisions became progressively outfitted with the Hotchkiss gun in late 1917 and early 1918. The Hotchkiss machine gun was gas-actuated and air-cooled, in contrast to the Maxim gun which was recoil-operated and water-cooled. The Hotchkiss machine gun barrel features 5 large annular rings which materially assisted natural cooling and retarded overheating. The gas cylinder under the barrel features a regulator piston which can be adjusted to the normal rate of fire of 450 rounds per minute. The Hotchkiss machine gun itself has only 32 parts including 4 coil springs and no screws or pins whatsoever. All parts of the gun are constructed in such a manner that it is impossible to assemble them improperly. The Hotchkiss fired from an open bolt, like almost all modern machine guns, in order to avoid cook-offs. Although the Hotchkiss machine gun was easy to feed continuously with a three-man team, each individual strip held only 24 rounds of 8mm Lebel ammunition. Each empty feed strip was ejected automatically after its last round had been fired, leaving the bolt open in the rear position. Then introducing a new loaded strip into the gun triggered the release forward of the bolt and firing resumed. The Hotchkiss strips performed well with a three-man crew, but the capacity was too small for a single gunner firing from the inside of a tank. This led to the adoption of a 250-round articulated metal belt in 1917. It was widely used in all French tanks of the period and in some military airplanes. Beginning in 1900, two basic tripod types were used prior to World War I, when the final and most effective third Hotchkiss tripod model became adopted and widely distributed. A tripod that could be used for both the Hotchkiss and the Saint-Étienne machine guns was issued in 1915, the so-called omnibus tripod. The French Hotchkiss had a rate of fire of approximately 450 rounds per minute of 8mm Lebel ammunition, and a maximum effective range of 3,800 meters with the Lebel bullet. Fire for effect was usually in successive bursts of 8 to 10 rounds. The gun could sustain continuous firing of about 120 aimed shots per minute almost indefinitely, except for occasional barrel changes which were quick and easy to perform with a special wrench. The barrel could attain a temperature of about 400 degrees Celsius, at which temperature it would be dark red in color. At this point the barrel dissipated heat as fast as it was generated. This only occurred after long continuous firing in a combat emergency situation. The most common complaint about the Hotchkiss was its weight. The gun and tripod weighed a total of 110 pounds. There were also complaints concerning the tripods, particularly the omnibus tripods, which were perceived as too high above ground and too heavy. Service use. World War I. France and USA. The principal user of the MLE-1914 Hotchkiss machine gun was French infantry during World War I and in 1939–40. The Hotchkiss Company delivered 47,000 MLE-1914 machine guns to the French Army between 1914 and the end of 1918. Several hundred were in the 11mm Gras caliber for anti-balloons used, since it was the smallest caliber to be able to receive an incendiary bullet, but all the others were in 8mm Lebel. The second largest user of the Hotchkiss gun was the American Expeditionary Forces in France between 1917 and 1918. The U.S. purchased and used in combat 7,000 MLE-1914 Hotchkiss machine guns, also in 8mm Lebel. Japanese version. Hotchkiss machine guns in 6.5mm caliber were successfully deployed by Japan. The production of the gun was licensed to Japan to become the Type 3 heavy machine gun, but the cartridge was the standard Japanese 6.5 by 50mm Arisaka rather than the original 8mm ammunition. The Type 92 heavy machine gun have scaled up Type 3 chambered for 7.7mm, was also based on the Hotchkiss design. In China, in 1930 to 1935, the Chinese nationalist government bought 1,192 Hotchkiss M1914 machine guns from France. The Chinese also copied this gun and used the German 7.92 x 57mm Mauser. After the Second Sino-Japanese War broke out in 1937, the Chinese also ordered fielded 1,300 guns, but only 300 guns were delivered. In Poland, Poland received the first M1914 Hotchkiss machine guns together with the arrival of the Blue Army in 1919. During and after the Polish Bolshevik War, the Polish army bought additional pieces in France, and by 1936 there were 2,620 pieces in Polish service. In mid-1920s, the army ordered 1,250 pieces of a slightly modified version rechambered to the standard 7.92 x 57 mm Mauser caliber. However, the army found that the newly delivered machine guns, dubbed CKMWZ-25 Hotchkiss, were substandard. The barrel was prone to overheating and the accuracy was found to be too low. Instead of trying to renegotiate the contract with Hotchkiss, the Polish General Staff ordered large numbers of CKMWZ-30 machine gun instead, and both 1914 and 1925 models of Hotchkiss were withdrawn from infantry service by 1936. Some were sold abroad. Many were modified to arm the Renault FD tanks, TK3 and TKS tankets, and some Mochod Panzerny WZ-29 and WZ-34 armored cars. During the invasion of Poland of 1939, the WZ-25 and WZ-14 machine guns were nevertheless used in combat by some Polish infantry units, notably the Border Defense Corps and National Defense. Other countries' Hotchkiss machine guns firing 7 mm Mauser ammunition equipped both sides during the Mexican Revolution. The same type of 7 mm Hotchkiss machine gun, built under license in Spain where it was the standard medium machine gun, was widely used by the conflicting parties involved in the Spanish Civil War. Furthermore, the MLE 1914 Hotchkiss in 8 mm Lebel was mounted in all French tanks and armored cars of World War I. Some examples of tanks that used the MLE 1914 Hotchkiss include the Schneider CA1, St. Chamond, Renault FD and Char 2C. Conversely, British tanks and armored cars were fitted with the British version, the distinctly different MLE 1909 Light Hotchkiss. A recently published series of modern firing tests with vintage machine guns summarizes the MLE 1914 Hotchkiss as being a heavy and rock-steady combination of gun and tripod. The world's first efficient air-cooled machine gun is admirably reliable and accurate. These qualities provided the French military with an excuse to keep the Hotchkiss in active service far beyond its point of obsolescence, and into World War II, the last recorded uses of the Hotchkiss were in Indochina and Algeria after World War II, to defend outposts in static positions. Uses: Afghanistan, Belgium, Chile, Ethiopian Empire, Kingdom of Greece, Kingdom of Italy, Brazil, France, Vichy France, Republic of China, Empire of Japan, designated the Type 3 heavy machine gun, Mexico, Norway, Peru, Poland, Romania, Soviet Russia. Several Red Army units used Hotchkiss M1914 during Russian Civil War. Spain, Sweden, Turkey, United States.